Welcome to Ask a Property Manager, episode number 115. New York State just landed about $1.2 billion in additional rent relief funds. How do you go about getting your hands on some? Stay tuned. The New York State Erap program has recently received additional funding from the federal government to the tune of $1.2 billion. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the press release here from the state of New York. Jump over to desktop mode here. Governor Hochul announces $2 billion in reserve pandemic recovery funding in the fiscal year 2023 budget. We're going to go ahead and read through this here. $800 million to emergency rental assistance program as part of continued commitment to supporting tenants and landlords suffering from pandemic hardship. Another $800 million for hospitals still experiencing a financial distress from COVID-19. $250 million for pandemic-related utility debt, and another $125 million for the Lrap program, Landlord Rental Assistance Program, for landlords whose tenants decline to participate in the program. Go ahead and read through this press release here. Governor Kathy Hochul today detailed the use of $2 billion in reserve pandemic recovery funding in the fiscal year 2023 state budget. When she introduced her executive budget in January, Governor Hochul indicated that she would work with the legislature to find the best use for these additional funds, which will support one-time, non-recurring programs that will lift up vulnerable New Yorkers who were hit especially hard by the pandemic. Under the agreements with the legislature, $800 million is being directed to the Erap program, $250 million is for utility assistance, $125 for the Lrap program, and $800 million going towards the hospitals that are still experiencing the financial distresses as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. An additional $25 million will go to other one-time non-recurring investments. Some of our most vulnerable communities are still reeling from the devastating effects of this once-in-a-generation pandemic, Governor Hochul said. An unprecedented crisis demands an unprecedented response for those with seemingly insurmountable debt, and I'm grateful to our partners in the legislature for their work to ensure this critical funding was included in the budget. This budget will build on the efforts of my first 7 months in office and provide support for struggling New Yorkers to get back on their feet. Emergency Rental Assistance Program. The fiscal 2023 state budget includes an additional $800 million in state funds for the Erap program. An additional $150 million is appropriated to enable spending of federal funds that were reallocated by the federal government to the state of New York. To date, the Office of Temporary Disability Assistance has distributed more than $2.1 billion in federal funding for rental arrears, supporting more than 160,000 low and moderate income households facing housing instability. Utility arrears. The fiscal 2023 budget will add $250 million in funding to eliminate pandemic-related utility arrears for low-income households and reduce all other household arrears that accumulated during the pandemic. This funding will be administered by the Department of Public Service in cooperation with OTDA, consumer organizations, and utilities. The program is in addition to an estimated $100 million to be paid through the Erap to reduce utility arrears. In addition, Governor Hochul launched a new initiative between OTDA and DPS to automatically enroll more low-income households in utility discount programs that will save participating households hundreds of dollars per year on utility costs. The Lrap program. Fiscal 2023 state budget includes an additional $125 million for the Lrap program. Lrap provides assistance for landlords whose tenants did not apply for Erap, including the instances where the tenant vacated the property with rental arrears. So far, more than 15,000 payments totaling $160 million have been made to assist landlords. Finally, we have healthcare. To build the healthcare system of tomorrow and restore a depleted healthcare workforce, Governor Hochul will make a historic $20 billion multi-year investment in healthcare, including $800 million from this agreement for hospitals still experiencing financial distress from the COVID-19 pandemic. So there you have it. There's the press release out of the governor's office talking about the signs and symptoms, if you will, what they have and what they're doing for us. So how do you actually go ahead and get access to these funds? Chances are, if you aren't already in line, it may already be too late. That said, the Erap website is open and accepting applications. We're going to jump over to that next so that you can see that the website is still up and running here. And one of the things that I want to point out is that currently the most recent update is this March 25th update. So by the time you see this video, there may be new information on the website here with regards to whether or not new applications are being accepted or what point they figure they're going to have to cut off applications in terms of this new level of funding. So that's really going to boil down to how many applications they already have in the hopper, and how far those applications will be funded given this new batch of money. As far as working with the program, let me switch back to reporter mode here. As far as working with the Erap program goes, I can tell you that it definitely has improved as near as I can tell. For a long time, we were submitting applications and not hearing anything on them for months. Then suddenly, once the eviction moratorium ended here in the state of New York, things started moving again. Go figure. We had applications that were put in basically the day that the portal opened. And it took 8 to 10 months for those applications to go through the process and be screened, and whatever New York State had to do on their end. It was an 8 to 10 month process on those applications. And then we had an application that was submitted after the eviction moratorium had ended, and that application was able to be processed in the matter of just a couple of weeks. I think it might have been a month and that one was processed. So I'd like to think that New York State wasn't just sitting on a bunch of money and collecting interest payments or whatever while tenants and landlords tried to figure out what their next steps were, but honestly, who knows at this point. At this point, the money does seem to be flowing, though, which is good news for landlords and tenants alike. I can tell you from our experience, we have seen most of our applications be processed at this point. So it does seem as though that program is finally starting to serve its purpose. Thank you all so much for watching. If you learned something from this video today, or if you found this video interesting, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button, and feel free to share the video with somebody that might find it interesting like you did. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comments down below. We'll talk to you soon.